Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking you through all of the main questions around moving to Dubai. In part one, we are going to talk about all of the biggies, all of the big topics that everyone has loads of questions about. So that is things like accommodation, visas, jobs, and all of that good stuff. So let's get into it. Let's start with visas. So this is a big one. There are literally so many different types of visas, but the most popular ones, in my opinion, are employment visas, investor visas, and also spousal visas. I'll briefly talk through those visas and share with you everything that I know about them. So the first one, employment visas. So when you meet someone in Dubai, 9 times out of 10, they will be on an employment visa. An employment visa is what it says really. It is a visa that is given to you by your employer. So if you come to Dubai and you gain employment, then by law, that organization has to supply you with an employment visa. The cost of that visa falls on the employer. So you as an employee, you do not pay for it. The process and the turnaround time for an employment visa is very dependent on who you're working for and how quickly they kind of get it done. When you come to work for an organization out here, you don't just get your visa, they also have to, by law, provide you with medical insurance. Every company has to give their employees medical insurance, but the scope of that can really differ depending on who you work for. Some organizations will give the most amazing, all singing, all dancing insurance, and some organizations will just give the very bare minimum. But you can ask more about what it covers when you are having conversations with potential employers. There are 2 different types of contracts that you can be offered. There is unlimited and limited. Unlimited, there isn't really much to say about it, but with limited contracts, it basically ties you into a set period of time for working for that employer. They can vary in length of commitment, but what it means for them is that if they were to leave the employer before their contract has expired, then they could potentially have to pay a significant fine. You will also usually have a 6-month probation period here, and it is unlikely that you would be allowed to take any annual leave during that time. So it's something to bear in mind, because I feel like Dubai is only a 7-hour flight from the UK, and when you move here you might think, oh, it's fine, if I need to go back for any reason, it's just a flight back. But if you are coming out here to work, then really you just cannot have anything going on in your first 6 months here. At least, being completely honest, I would say have nothing in your diary for a year. Commit yourself to a year out here without any expectation of going home, because some employers might not let you have any leave during your entire first year. It might be that you have to work for a year to gain your first year's worth of annual leave. It's not set in stone, so I would just say that as a piece of advice from me to you, is that keep the diary clear for a year. Depending on your profession and who it is that you'll be working for, some organizations will provide you with a much bigger package than just your visa and your medical insurance. Some employers may pay a housing allowance to help you live and pay for your rent here. They also might pay towards your school fees or cover them entirely. They might pay for your car, your mobile, your fuel. There's lots of different things that can be included within a package, but it's all down to negotiating that when you join the organization. I'll be honest here though, there are a lot of people that would happily do jobs out here without any package. So you do have to be in a profession where it's expected that they would have to give you a package in order for you to come and do that job. If you're coming here to do a customer service job or a waiting job, a job that a lot of people would be applying for, then your chances of getting a package are very minimal. Moving on to the investor visa. So that is for anyone who is opening up their own business here, and it is a really popular thing to do. A lot of people who open up businesses here, particularly service-based businesses, will open them in a free zone. The main reason people choose to open their business in a free zone is because you don't need to have anyone involved in your business, and you don't need to have an Emirati sponsor. In terms of choosing a free zone, it's all very dependent on your business area and what it is that you are actually offering. And no matter what type of business you have here, you have to have a registered office. If you are opening up a relatively small business where it might just be yourself working, then you don't need to go and lease an office somewhere. You can use a remote workspace instead. So it kind of gives you the best of both worlds. It gives you the address that you absolutely must have, but it also does give you the option to go into an office and work from somewhere if you would like to as well. If you do open up a business within a free zone, it is worth knowing that everything is linked to that free zone. For an example, if you open up a business in the free zone of Sharjah, then everything is linked to Sharjah. Your visa will be linked to it, your Emirates ID will be linked to it, and if you ever need to sponsor anyone, your wife, your children, your husband, then everything is done in Sharjah. It doesn't prevent you from living in Dubai. It's just something worth noting because some of the free zones are really quite far out from the main city of Dubai. The cost of opening a business here really does vary, and it is completely dependent on where you open your business, what your business does, what services you offer, what you sell, how many employees you're going to have, and all of those things. There is no definitive answer of how much it costs to open a business here because there is just so many different factors that go into it. The more services that your organization offers, the more expensive it will be, because you have to have a trade license for every aspect of your organization. So for an example, if I wanted to open up a business that was touching on interior design, but it also touched on fashion styling, and it touched on photography and videography and all sorts of things like that, then I would need to have a trade license that goes with all of those pillars of my organization. I can't just open up a business and say I do interior, fashion and content creation, because that is 3 different things and they all come with their own trade license, and trade licenses all cost a different amount of money. So I really cannot tell you how much it's going to be to open up a business here because there is just so much that goes into it. But just knowing that about trade licenses might help you. I really am not an expert in setting up businesses whatsoever, but I just know that every single business here has a very different journey to actually launch their business legally here. So for an example, if you are going to make anything here and then go to sell it, that is classed as manufacturing. One set rule for anyone who is manufacturing anything here in the UAE has to have at least £50,000 in a bank account, and that's just step 1. There is going to be lots of other things that you're going to have to do in order to actually get that business off the ground and running. Another really popular thing that is sold in the UK is people making cakes and selling them, and again that is also classed as manufacturing because you are making something to sell it on. But also in that instance you would also need to have a licensed commercial kitchen space. You couldn't just simply bake it at home and then sell it. That's just not allowed. So that's what I mean when I say that opening up a business here is not always going to be incredibly straightforward. It really does depend on what it is that you do. If you are seriously interested in opening up a business here, then you are probably best approaching a business consultant, and I cannot give a true recommendation because I have never professionally or personally used them, but I know a lot of people use a company called Creative Zone, and they are all-rounders. They can help you set up your business, they can guide you through it, but also if you are an organization that is not able to open up a business in a free zone and you need an Emirati sponsor, they can act as your Emirati sponsor. So then moving on to spousal visas, these are basically visas that are given to someone's wife, to someone's husband. It basically means that whoever it is that's sponsoring you is saying that they are sponsoring you, they're paying for you to have a visa here, that they have a home for you, that they will arrange medical insurance for you, whether they pay for that themselves or whether they do that through their employer. There are a lot of people out here who are on sponsored visas, and if you are being sponsored by your husband or your wife and then you choose to go into employment, you can either cancel your spousal visa and ask for your employer to now sponsor you, or you can stay on your spousal visa and you would just have to get a labour card which allows you to work on that spousal visa. There are other types of visas. Another popular one is the freelance visa. So that is mainly for people who are in the creative world. So if you are a photographer or if you're an influencer or a copywriter, that is a very popular visa, and there is a really helpful website that talks you through everything you would need to know about being on a freelance visa. I have heard that it is a bit of a struggle to open up a bank account if you have a freelance visa, so maybe do a little bit more research around that because things might have changed since I had heard that. There is another really popular visa choice which I cannot remember what the name is, so I'll pop it on the screen, and this is basically a visa for anyone who basically wants to work from home in Dubai but wants to stay with their employer based at home. I believe it is just 1 year long, but it gives you the opportunity to come here and work from Dubai for a year, be in the sunshine, be in the sea, and see how you feel about it. There are a couple of different stipulations that would make you eligible for this, but I know for sure that you have to be earning at least £50,000 in order to be considered for this. And last but not least, we are going to talk about the visa that you get on arrival. So depending on your nationality and where it is that you are actually flying from will dictate whether you need to apply for a visa in advance. But if you are coming from the UK, you just book your flight, arrive at Dubai airport, and they will stamp your passport as a tourist, and that gives you 30 days in the country. Currently, there is also a 9-day grace period, so technically you get 30 days in the country to be here, and then you also get 9 extra days on top of that to leave. However, I would be a little bit cautious of those 9 days whilst there are changes happening, because from September 2022, anyone arriving from the UK should be receiving a 60-day visa instead of a 30-day visa. It is all yet to be 100% confirmed, as in I need to wait until September to see whether that genuinely happens, but that is very much what is being said, that is what's been announced. So yeah, it's really exciting for anyone who is wishing to come out here and try and find a job, because it should now give you 2 months to find employment rather than just 1. Okay, and that now very nicely leads us on to our next topic, which is all about jobs. So let's start with how to actually find a job here. The number one thing I would say is that unless you are in a very niche industry, or it is very typical and common to recruit your profession overseas, like a teacher or a nurse, for example, then I would say that it's going to be very hard for you to find employment whilst you are at home. You kind of have to have your feet here and be ready to go to interviews here, because there are just so many talented people that are here already looking for a position. It is not completely impossible to find employment whilst you are still at home. It just is that little bit more trickier, and I think you do have to have very thick skin, because you will probably face a lot of rejection, but it does happen, and you could be exactly who they are looking for. But whether you are based at home or you are based here, in terms of actually finding a job, this is what I would suggest. Number one, LinkedIn. A lot of people in Dubai use this as their main source of finding their talent. So definitely create a profile if you haven't already. Make sure it's up to date. Make sure your profile is turned on to say that you are looking for employment. Number two, I would definitely recommend Facebook groups. So you could literally go onto Facebook, type into the search engine, jobs for expats, and you will find lots of different groups with opportunities on. Next up is recruitment agencies. There are so many opportunities here that only go directly to a recruitment agency, and you don't want to be missing out on those opportunities. So get your CV together and get it distributed to different recruitment agencies. The website Indeed is used here, but it's definitely not as well used as it is in the UK, but it is still worth registering for notifications. If you are looking at working for a bigger corporate organisation, then you'd have to keep an eye on their own career pages on their own websites. So maybe just spend an hour or two researching all of the big companies that are out here, and then favoriting their career pages, and you can just keep checking back a couple of times a week to see if anything new has popped up. And my final piece of advice with regards to finding a job is all about networking. There are networking events that you can find through Facebook, and also just take any opportunity to get to know someone and tell them exactly what it is that you're really good at, because you never know, they might then hear of an opportunity that they can pass on to you. And Dubai is actually very, very small, and people are very, very connected here, and it usually is a complete pleasure for someone to recommend their friend to an organisation, because that makes them feel good. You don't want to miss out on that type of opportunity just because you haven't introduced yourself properly to someone. Just go for it. Everything in Dubai is either super quick or super slow. So don't be alarmed if you get offered a job and you're expected to start on Monday. That is just how things might happen here. Or it could be that you have to wait 3 months. It really does depend. When you're having these conversations with potential employers, be really clear about what their expectations are of you and what your expectations are to them. You have to have savings, because you will rinse through money here. I feel like if you are are going to be giving up and sacrificing a lot at home to really try and make it work out here, then you need to be fully prepared to have enough money to eat, to drink, to have a roof over your head, to get to your interviews, and also to enjoy that period as well. So moving on to accommodation, something that I get asked all the time is which area should I live in when I move to Dubai? And it really does depend on so many things that are applicable to just you. So where your job is based, if you have children and what school they go to, your budget, what you like to do in your free time. For example, if you are someone who loves to be in the water, then you might want to live closer to a beach. If you are really into nightlife and parties, then the marina area is definitely more suited to you. If you have a family, then you may wish to consider a gated villa community where there's lots going on for families. So it really does depend on so many different factors, but one of the biggest things that will come down to it is the budget, of course. And I did a little bit of research on which are the most expensive areas to live in Dubai and also what are the more affordable places to live in Dubai. So most expensive places are Dubai Hills, Emirates Hills, Sakim, Jumeirah Golf Estates, the Marina, downtown, and the Palm Jumeirah as well. And the more affordable places to live are Dubai International City, Deira, Silicon Oasis, Sports City, and JVC. So to give you a comparison, I went onto a letting website before I filmed this and I looked for a 2-bedroom apartment in the Palm Jumeirah, which is one of the most expensive areas. And I also looked at a 2-bedroom apartment in Silicon Oasis, which is a more affordable area of Dubai. And to rent a 2-bedroom apartment in the Palm, the cheapest I could find was 135,000 dirhams per year. And to rent a 2-bedroom apartment in Silicon Oasis, the cheapest apartment I could find was 40,000 dirhams per year. So almost 100,000 dirhams per year difference there. But what I really want to say is that no matter where you live in Dubai, there will always be taxis available. The metro here is very reliable and very, very affordable. And to be honest with you, people don't spend an awful lot of time in their apartments here because, you know, they've moved to Dubai. There is so much to see and to do and to enjoy here. So I just really want to reassure you that you should never feel pressure to live in a more luxurious part of Dubai because you're not going to spend that much time in your home anyway, really. And everyone has different motives. Like for me, I live in downtown, which is a more expensive area of Dubai, but the reasons I chose to live here is because I already have family that are based in downtown. It is a really dog-friendly community and I have my gorgeous little doggy here and we don't drive here, so having shops and cafes and groceries at my fingertips is perfect because I can just nip out and I haven't got to jump in a taxi, I haven't got to get on a metro, I haven't got to get into a car, it's just all here. The other thing that I really like about downtown is that it is very, very calm. Even though we have the Dubai Mall here and of course the Burj Khalifa and the fountain display, that area is very busy, but the rest of downtown is so lovely. There really is not much traffic. There is enough to do here to keep you busy and to keep you entertained, and I just love being here. It's like I'm in the middle of a city that is not busy and chaotic, and that's just perfect for me. In terms of actually looking for an apartment, there are several websites that you can use. The ones that I have used personally are Dubizzle, Bayut, and Property Finder. You can also reach out to real estate companies and tell them exactly what it is you're looking for and your budget, and then they will add you to their books and let you know if there is anything suitable. So let's talk about the actual process of renting an apartment. So you have found an apartment or a villa that you like the look of and you would like to go and see it. You will ring or WhatsApp the real estate agent and tell them that you're interested. They will usually then give you a call back and they will be qualifying you. So they are going to be asking you questions to make sure that you are definitely ready to move and that this property is suitable for you. So in order to be classed as someone who is genuinely ready to move, you need to have your visa and you also need to have your Emirates ID. You need to have a checkbook from a bank that is based here, and you also need to have 5% of the overall yearly rent or 5,000 dirhams, whichever is higher. And as long as you have all of those things, then they are more than likely to offer you a viewing. One thing to know is that the majority of real estate companies have stock images on their databases, and therefore the photos that you might be seeing online might not be of the actual apartment that they have available. I had a lot of wasted trips looking at apartments that were different to what was advertised online. So it is worth asking the question because I didn't want to waste my time, I didn't want to waste their time, so I would always double check. Okay, so now you are at your viewing and you have completely fallen in love with it. You can put an offer in there and there with your agent if you'd like to, or you can go away and have a think about it. You may have other viewings already lined up, but if you do like something, you do have to act quickly. You don't really have much time to think about it, because chances are, if it's a good apartment and it's a good price, then it will be gone. Real estate out here is very, very different than it is in the UK. So if I was a landlord and I had an apartment, I could give it to every single real estate company out here, and they could all be trying to find me a tenant, and I don't pay a single penny for that service. The cost of the real estate agent doing all of their work will always fall on the tenant. When you are working out your budget, you also need to factor in the fact you are the person who is going to pay the real estate agent for their work. And that is why it's so quick here, because these real estate agents are working on commission only, and they need to be sure that you are definitely serious about it. They also know the pressure is on. They need to find a tenant quickly, otherwise they don't earn any money. So everything with moving is super fast. Your real estate agent may say, if you are interested, then send me an email with your offer, or they may ask you to WhatsApp it to them. So just find out from them how you go about actually moving forward with it. But when you are submitting your offer, you are going to tell them how much it is that you are offering per year, and you're also going to tell them how many checks that you are going to be paying your rent in. Everyone here is paying for their rent via a check. It is very rare to pay for your rent monthly. For me personally, I pay for my rent twice a year in 2 checks. Sometimes you can actually bring the rent down if you offer to pay in less checks. You can also gauge from your real estate agent how much the landlord is looking for and how many checks they are looking for. So just be open and honest with your real estate agent and ask for their advice. So you have submitted your offer and now you're just waiting to hear back. Your real estate agent will be going back and forth with the landlord, and then fingers crossed you then get the apartment. Woohoo! You will then liaise with your real estate agent and you will agree a move-in date. Your real estate agent will then present you with your tenancy agreement, and you need to read this word for word. One thing that will definitely be within the tenancy agreement is how much you are expected to pay towards maintenance. If you live in an apartment, you are usually expected to pay for maintenance up to 500 dirhams per thing that could go wrong. So for an example, if something happened where there was a water leak and you arranged for someone to come out and fix it, and the bill was 499 dirhams, then you would pay that 499 dirhams. If it is anything over 500 dirhams, if the company came out and they charge 550 dirhams, then that would then sit with the landlord and they would have to pay for it. So that example is only valid, of course, if that is the agreed amount, that 500 dirhams is your cutoff point. If you are living in a villa, then usually the amount is 1,000 dirhams. Your real estate agent will then ask you to sign your tenancy agreement, and they will also then send you a signed copy from the landlord, along with all other documents that you will need, such as a copy of your landlord's passport and also a copy of the title deed. But one thing I would say is that you should never hand over a check until you have seen a copy of the title deed, because without that title deed, you don't know for sure that the landlord that is written on this tenancy agreement actually owns the property that you think you're about to rent. So with regards to the checks, you should pay for your rent and also the real estate agent's fee, both by check. But the key thing, hello, here's my doggy. Hello, darling. But the key thing to both checks is to make sure that they are dated from the date that your tenancy starts and no earlier. Sorry, there is also another check that you have to do. That is your security deposit. That again is usually 5% of the rent or 5,000 dirhams, whichever is higher. The next step is arranging the ajari. So the word ajari actually means my rent in Arabic. It's basically a certificate. It's mandatory to have it. The ajari is there for everyone's benefit. It looks after and protects you, because if for any reason something went wrong with your apartment and you had to take your landlord to court, if you did not have this ajari, you wouldn't be able to do anything about it. So it is really important to arrange your ajari. In terms of actually getting hold of the certificate, you can apply for your ajari online, or also your real estate agent may offer to do it for you for a fee, but I just prefer doing everything myself. So I took myself to the Al Manara Centre. These are the things that you need to take with you. So first of of all, you need to take with you a signed original copy of the tenancy agreement. You need to take a copy of your security deposit that you paid for the property. You need to take your passport, your visa and your Emirates ID. You also need to bring a copy of your landlord's passport, a copy of the title deed, and you also need to bring with you the 9-digit DWA premises code. It depends on the property where you'll find this code. Usually it's on the outside or somewhere near the front door. So actually that's a really good tip. If you are looking around an apartment and love it, take a photo of the DWA code whilst you're there. In order to get the Ejari certificate, you do have to pay a fee, and I believe it is around 220 dirhams. Once you've got the certificate, you can then download the DWA app or go on their website to register your account so that you can then track your bills and pay for your bills monthly. It's probably worth noting at this point that Dubai is not the same in terms of searching around for energy providers. You can go to DWA and DWA only for your water and your electricity. That is it. There is no searching around, locking into a price. It just is what it is. It's one service provider and you pay them. You usually have to obtain a move-in permit from your developer that has built the property that you're going to be moving to. I believe it is mandatory, and if you turn up and try to move into your home without a move-in permit, then you could potentially be denied, because it gives you the reassurance that you can definitely move in on that day, but also it informs the security and the concierge in your building to expect you. And of course, if you're moving big bits of furniture, then you will probably want access to the service lift. The keys to your apartment and any fobs that you need to get in and out of the car park and to get into the building itself should be with you on the day of your tenancy starting, if not earlier. You just need to keep in communication with your real estate agent to find out when it is that you're going to be getting them. Usually what happens is you will get given the keys the day that you hand over the 3 checks. And last but not least, I do think it is really worth going down to the reception, to the lobby, to meet the security, to meet the concierge and introduce yourself. It is really nice if you can know them by name, say good morning, say good evening, and have a bit of a relationship with them, because they are there for you all the time. So that brings part 1 to a close. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you found it helpful, then please leave a comment to let me know. If you've got any questions, then let me know in the comments and I will answer them in my next set of videos, because as you can tell, there is so much to talk about when it comes to moving to Dubai, and I haven't even touched the surface. We've got to talk about documents that you need to bring with you, through to just day-to-day life here, like making friends. All of those topics will be coming up at some stage. So yeah, hit subscribe if you are considering moving here and want to hear more about it. On this channel, I'm usually vlogging my life as an expat living in Dubai with my husband and my dog, and yeah, I'm having a really good time here. So if that also interests you, then please go ahead and check out my other videos. All right then, so have a fabulous day and I will see you in my next video.